I thought I'd start today with a quote from Harvard economist John Kane, who said that high and persistent urban joblessness was due to the movement of jobs away from the inner city, coupled with the inability of those living there to move closer to places where the jobs have gone. As a result, finding work was tough for many inner city types, especially if public transport was poor and they did not own a car. And Dr. Kane's paper was published in 1965. My workforce region, as I said, is the South Central Connecticut region. It's 30 municipalities. I run from Milford to Old Saybrook and up to Cromwell. So that kind of triangular region is my area. And recently, the South Central Council of Governments that is the 15 towns of the Greater New Haven area, the NAACP and Workforce Alliance formed a group to study on a more micro level, the transportation barriers of getting people to employment, especially inner city residents. We also were joined after we started by Connecticut Transit and by the city of New Haven, who is also embarking on a major transportation study that you'll probably hear from later. As you would expect, studies show that up until the 1980s, most people, most of the New Haven residents, worked in New Haven. Winchester was a major employer before, that turned to U.S. Repeating Arms and then went out of business. If you look at the higher income areas of the city of New Haven, most of those people still work in New Haven. They work at Yale University, biotech firms, and things like that. But the residents of the lower income neighborhoods are clearly having to go outside the city to help them find employment. When we looked at jobs in the city, there were, of the 47,000 living wage jobs in the city of New Haven, only 4% of them are held by workers that come from the lower income neighborhoods. And they comprise about 50% of the population of the city of New Haven. 15% are held by people that come from those more affluent neighborhoods, and 81% are held by people from outside New Haven. When we look at the data that we get from our Connecticut Works Career Centers and other workforce agencies, 84% of the job seekers that come into the centers cite transportation as the single major barrier for them to be able to find work, as compared to 60% that cite child care, 23% who say education-related issues are barriers, and 11% who say the lack of experience. When I was doing this paper, this report, I was reminded by my planner, Chris Reardon, that one of our very first needs assessments that we completed in 1993 also had transportation as the single greatest barrier. As was mentioned by the keynote speaker, we're seeing fewer and fewer young people that have licenses, and many African American and Latino adults are many times less likely to have a driver's license than some of the white job seekers that we see. We also found that the report essentially reinforced the association between unemployment and the lack of a car. 10% of the people that we surveyed who were unemployed had access to a car, but when we looked at the unemployed people that did not have access to a car, 35% were unemployed. So there's significant, they're chronic, whatever you want to say, long-term unemployment, prolonged unemployment, while result of many factors is greatly influenced by people's lack of mobility and lack of access to jobs.